officially becomes the Secretary of Health and Human Services, mission number one, we all know, repeal and replace Obamacare. No one has been on it more than Dr. Price, except perhaps our next guest, Betsy McCaughey. All right, Betsy.
Thank you. This definitely will jumpstart the effort in Congress and in the executive branch to repeal and replace Obamacare. Don't forget, on the first day of the president in office, his very first executive action was to instruct the incoming secretary to lift the economic burden on Americans. And there are some 1,400 places in that big Obamacare law that say the secretary shall or the secretary may. So now there's a secretary who can actually tweak those regulations and provide relief. For example, for many people, millions of people incurring a penalty for not being able to afford Obamacare. And in some instances, change the rules for insurance companies enough to avert a collapse of the market in 2018.
So we keep it on life support, but the big question is, this is a big, ugly piece of legislation that had no bipartisan support, was written by insurance companies, and is it going to be as easy to replace it as advertised?
Well, it's not going to be replaced. All those very costly mandates that take people's freedom away, we're not replacing those. In other words, people will have the freedom to buy a much wider variety of insurance, much of it more affordable. In many cases, the mandates will be gone. States can make up their own.
Right.
The citizens of each state will have a role in deciding what kind of health insurance they want. But it's not replacing it. It's relieving Americans of the tremendous cost and burden of a Washington knows best system.
We had Peter Mauricio on in a 9 o'clock hour, and he expressed reservations about a plan, a plan that involves a lot of subsidies. Replacing this plan that involves a lot of subsidies. Where are the cost savings? And ultimately, I guess people are going to ask, how do you actually bend the cost curve? We were told that they would curb costs. It never happened. Is it even possible?
Of course it's possible. First of all, this law requires that people buy a plan that is crammed full of so many things they don't want. Pediatric dental care, even if you don't have children. One of the reasons the pro-choice groups really battled Tom Price is these plans currently are required to provide contraception with no copay. That means that everybody who signs up for an insurance plan has to pay for contraception, even if you're 60 years old, even if you're a man, because the insurance companies aren't allowed to charge a copay. President Obama said that made contraception free. Only if you believe in the tooth fairy. You're just being forced to pay for it the minute you sign up for insurance.
It feels like, Betsy, the insurance industry wrote a lot of this, and they built in support for themselves, where when they lost money initially, taxpayers bailed them out.
That's right.
As soon as those parameters expired.
That's right. That's why the premiums have shot up so much. Premiums are now double what they were at the end of 2013, double. And one of the reasons they shot up so much this year is the backdoor bailouts funded by you and me to the insurance companies are over.
How do we get the insurance companies back in?
Well, the fact is insurance companies would like to sell on a free market where they can price according to risk, where they can sell a variety of plans. But once the government gave them a seat at the table and said, you must do it this way and this way and this way, even though the rules would drive you out of business, of course they demanded subsidies. I'm not saying insurance companies are good guys. I loathe them, frankly. But the fact is that they lost a lot of money, $2 to $3 billion a year, trying to sell these dog plans.